Game 2 in the East, Oilers Canucks Game 1 in the West. Guys, welcome into PuckTime. Good morning. We are here live on the WagerTalk TV network. I'm Andrew, and I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Bianco Carmine. Bianco here. Carm, all right, man, we got 2 games today to break down. Obviously, we have one that's just starting and some days off, but one series where we saw an upset in Game 1. Do the Florida Panthers bounce back here, Carm, at home in Game 2?
Andrew, we saw it with the Carolina and Rangers one there. They played better defensively, even though that game went to a couple of OTs. Carolina was better. The Rangers were better. They just the power plays just continued to score. In this one, Florida wasn't better. You looked at the analytic numbers on this one, and the Bruins were better in that game. And from a totals point of view, which is what I'm looking at here, 5-1, 6 goals in the last 32 minutes of that game. And a side note, I did not have the under in that game. I think someone commented in our video yesterday, whether he was trolling or not. Yeah, we know you had the under in that game. No, I was making a point that anyone who had the under in the game, there was 6 goals scored in the last 30 plus minutes of the game. So it was not a bad beat, but a tough beat for underbetters. But 3 of the 4 games during this regular season went under the total. There was just one 4-3 game mixed in there, and I get it. We've seen some high scoring games. We saw another one. The game ones have all been high scoring. We'll see if the Edmonton Oilers one tonight is a high scoring one. I thought last night's Colorado game would be high scoring, and it went over the total as well too. This is one where I think if Florida's to win, this is one of those ones, Andrew. I think where you look at it, they did a very good job of shutting down the Bruins' big guys. It is the secondary scoring where the Bruins got them, and then the empty netter. If they can do what they did the last game, but tighten up their defense and get a stronger performance from Bobrovsky, we know the Bruins are going to play a tight defensive game. We know Jeremy Swayman is going to play extremely well in goal. The guy is playing lights out hockey right now. Yeah, I think you have to take the under here. The under is 5.5. I don't see Florida blowing out Boston. I don't see Boston replicating what they did in Game 1. So that leads me to believe that this has to be an under. The analytics from Game 1 didn't really. It's the analytics from Game 1 supported how many goals were scored, but not in how they were scored. I guess in a 5-1 result, because the analytics were pretty much the XGs were 3 for each team, and in a 5-1 scoreline, obviously Florida underperformed, and the Boston Bruins exceeded their expectation. I'm going to go under in this one. I have a slight lean also to Florida in this game. I think if I'm going to take them, I can't take them at minus 180. I would probably take them in regulation and hope that we don't see what we saw last night, which is 2 games going to overtime. I love overtime hockey unless I'm on the wrong end of it, of a result. It was funny because Dave Koken put out a tweet yesterday, Andrew, when the Carolina game went to OT. He's like, I'm 0-3 in OTs. I don't like where this is going. And I joined them as far as having an overtime loser with Carolina. So I apologize to you guys on that Carolina play that came along with me. It was a good run, but it came to an end. Andrew, Florida in regulation and under 5.5 for me in this game. Can you talk me off either play?
I really can't, Carm, because you know what? I can definitely trust this Panthers team to bounce back. I really can, and I don't think that the Panthers coaching staff wants the excuse to be out there. The fact that they had some time off, but that was part of my handicap for liking the over. I didn't have it in me to play the Bruins in Game 1, but part of the reason I liked the over is because I think that the Florida Panthers might not have been in their playoff rhythm. Give them one game. Give them one game to get back into playoff rhythm. Give them one opportunity to get laser focused once again, and the coaching staff to get after these guys. And I think that they're going to get right back to being the team that we know that they really are, Carm. But I'm going to try to do what I did last night and last night this strategy failed, Carm, but I'm going to go right back to it, and this is going to be me taking the team total under with the Boston Bruins. Current price here, you can get at DraftKings -1 at FanDuel -130. I'm seeing 135s out there as well for the Boston Bruins under 2.5 goals. Look, my biggest fear with these unders is that you're going to see a 3-2 and then you're going to see an empty net goal, and 4-2 puts you over the total. But the team that we think's going to win wins. Team we think's going to lose, and they stay under the team total. So yesterday, it was a 3-2 win, a 3-2 lead for Carolina. I was stressing my team total under there for the Rangers. They tie it up, of course, go to overtime, and then either way, my team total under is a loss, Carm. But one thing you mentioned that I think is so true, I think the entire audience would agree with this. If the Boston Bruins were able to have that type of effort and performance and their top guys didn't really score, that's got to be a concern, man. That really does have to be a concern. When you've got a young defenseman scoring, you've got Geeky scoring, going top corner. When you've got guys, I mentioned on the last show, not named Marchand or Pasternak or Zaka, and those guys didn't score, it's definitely a concern, because you know what? Those guys are going to get their moments. But I do expect a more defensive game from the Florida Panthers. They are at home once again. They get the last change. And you know what? Their fan base might not like it, Carm, but this game might be pretty boring, actually. This game might remind us a little bit of what the ending of the Bruins and Leafs series was like. It would not shock me if we're seeing 2-1, 10 minutes into the third period. It really wouldn't. I mean, we've got lots of talent out there. You look across both lineups. I mean, the funny thing is, I think you would probably agree with me here on this one, Carm. I mean, line by line, the Panthers probably have more talent. The Boston Bruins are just so good at sticking to their system and playing the way that they play. I mean, when you look at the deadline acquisitions, even from the Florida Panthers, it's just so much different. I mean, you look at a guy like Tarasenko, and then you look at Okposo, and then you can talk about the guys they already had, of course, with leaders like Kachuk, Barkov, Verhaeghe, Reinhart. There's so many snipers out there, but what makes this team so great is that they have bought into defensive hockey. So I'm with you. I'm going to roll the dice again, Carm, with the team total unders for the team I think that will lose, just because with these 5.5s, I'm always so worrisome about these empty net goals, and then the score line finishes 4-2 and you go over by a half. So it didn't work out for me yesterday with the Canes, unfortunately. Looking at them to prevent the Rangers from getting to 3, but tonight I'll take the Panthers to have a good defensive effort. Team total under for the Bruins.
Andrew, the biggest fear, as whether it's a handicapper, as a sports bettor, or even someone who just does this for entertainment and doesn't really care about their bankroll going forward, is you start to form opinions and you wonder if the initial opinion was incorrect, and then you're just following it along. So it's almost like throwing bad money or good money after bad. We get into the playoffs and you always assume, or at least I do, that we're going to see lower scoring games. We're going to see some better defense. And then we write off game ones because they're higher scoring, and we say it's a feeling out process. These teams will settle down, kind of like in the Carolina game. I didn't expect game one or game two to look anything like game one, but then there's so many skilled players on these teams, and they still find a way of scoring. And case in point with Carolina, such a good penalty killing unit. The New York Rangers and their stars are making them look absolutely ordinary, killing penalties. And there was a lot of penalties in that game. And then you think about that one. I'm going to go off on a few different tangents here, and it's not venting. It's just talking about in general is. If you look at the officiating, some games they put the whistle away, and some games like the Rangers game yesterday, there's just so many penalties that they're not letting these teams play a 5-on-5 game. No matter who won yesterday in that Rangers game, nobody was going to be happy If the Rangers won, Carolina fans, Carolina bettors are going to be upset about the officiating. If Carolina had won, it would have been the Ranger fans and Rangers bettors. And what that means is they're both correct. It is the officiating is bad. It's bad in every sport. But with that said, continuing my thought, Andrew, is we saw the game store over the total in game one, Carolina. It goes over the total in game two. What's to stop this game from going over once again? Or like you said, in a 3-2 game, you get 3 or 4 minutes of empty net time because they're yanking that goalie just a little early. And Florida did it. They yanked their goalie with 4 minutes left, down 4-1. And you kind of hate to see it if you're on the under. You love to see it if
I was
you're on the
thankful.
over. So it is, Andrew. It is tough. It is tough as and there's two sides to every coin, right? So if you're an over better, you're loving it. Yeah, pull that goalie. Let's go. John Cooper, 7 minutes left. And then you're on the under. It's like, get it into the offensive zone to force them not to pull their goalie. And it is what makes this sport, which makes this profession, and which makes the entertainment value of having money on a game that much more enjoyable. And then sometimes, obviously, heartbreaking.
Absolutely. And Carm, we're never going to actually see this take place. But could you imagine if you could make a bet where it would be the number of 5-on-5 goals over under? Because, I've been getting on the nerves of a lot of Rangers fans and Tampa Bay fans and even Oilers fans lately because of how